Welcome to the Ditch the Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Alana Rosso. I'm a graphic designer turned career and success coach who knew I could do better, but kept falling short of where I wanted to go. But after years of exploring personal and career development, business, money mindset, and energy work, I'm here to tell you that yes, you can move from stuck and defeated to empowered and confident. Ready to dive in? Awesome. Together, let's ditch the struggle. Hi everyone, welcome back. We are going to talk today about when people choose to see you a specific way. So, you know how you change? Sometimes we change and evolve and grow, and then other people choose to see us the way we were. And we're like, but I've changed and I've grown and I'm actually different now, and they're seeing you the same way. This is so frustrating. It's like, we put in all this work and then people don't want to acknowledge it. Oh my God, there's so many tiers to this actually. And I want to share a story about working in corporate that I think to me really made this concept clear, and to see it from an outside perspective was really interesting because I do love to observe. And I have to say, like, all my corporate jobs have been crazy, but let's talk about the good stories that I've gotten from it, right? Okay, so this is, in one of my jobs, we're going back to my cosmetics job, which I talk a lot about because it was so significant, but also there was just so much that happened in those less than 3 years. But there was someone I was working with who was just an incredible person. And they were very self-aware. And they were the type of person that loved to sign up for a personal development webinar, would do the lunch and learns, wanted to grow, just was really, truly wanting to do that kind of work, like truly wanted to be a better person. And they were like pretty intense person, but were also able to recognize, maybe where they weren't doing as well, where they could improve. Like they genuinely wanted to look at that stuff. And honestly, that's not most people. So I was always very impressed. I was like, wow, this person genuinely wants to take feedback, wants to take it into consideration. And in, the time we worked together, I could see that she was really changing and evolving and really improving. And just, I didn't always work with her, but I could just see the transformation. So as someone observing, I could see the transformation, because some people talk about changing and they're saying they're doing the things and they're not. That's actually most people. They don't want to change and evolve. But I know you're not those people. You're listening to podcasts like this and you want to shift and move and, ditch that struggle, right? So I found it fascinating. I was like, wow, she's really making strides and working on the things that have been pointed out to her that maybe she could improve upon. But what was fascinating, I never fail to be fascinated by corporate culture, is that one of the higher up bosses, you could say, would not acknowledge any changes that she had made. She would go on and on and on to this person about things that she had changed and improved upon. And she was talking to her like it was still a year ago, let's say, and she hadn't made any of those shifts. And she was the same person, but she clearly was not, like other people could see as well. But this one person, this boss, absolutely was not going to acknowledge the changes she had made. She was the same person in her eyes. She was choosing to see this person through the same lens that she was seeing her a year ago. And the frustration for my coworker was like, oh my God, but like I'm doing all this stuff to change and shift and grow. I was like, yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. And this comes up all the time when people don't want to see or acknowledge our changes. There's a whole bunch of different reasons. Now, in corporate culture, it can be very helpful to do this, to deny someone a promotion, to keep them in the same position, because I think in this case, they didn't want them moving into any other position because they were so good at what they already did that they didn't want to lose and replace her. That's kind of what I sensed. Also, there are people in power who get very threatened when you start to become like really great at other things and you excel. People get threatened by it. I think there was a bit of that happening. But it's always really interesting for me to observe, and I've been in that position. I'll talk about that as well, when our changes aren't acknowledged. And there is something so painful about when someone doesn't witness and acknowledge our changes and our growth, because they're essentially ignoring it. It's almost like the silent treatment in terms of just acknowledgement. It's like, all that effort you've done, we're not going to acknowledge it. I'm just going to look the other way and pretend that that's not actually happening, that you're not actually, making these improvements. It's really disrespectful. It's really painful. And it's like our inner child is just sitting there trying to scream, like, why can't you see these changes I've made? Like, I've worked so hard. And so it's like that concept of our hard work is not paying off. I know that was a really a deep belief that I used to have as a kid, like hard work doesn't pay off. That also allowed me to stay in victim mode, which is a little bit of a tangent. But so what do you do when people aren't acknowledging your efforts? Now, this person really systematically was like, but I've done this, this, and this, and started to go through things routinely, especially in like performance reviews. And, that can be helpful, but it's amazing how people can still ignore what you're going through or what you've done or what you've changed, again, back in the corporate environment. And so it's not uncommon, and actually it can be very strategically helpful to change companies. If this is really happening and it's really bad and you're never going to be seen the way you want to be seen, and I feel like I'm constantly telling people to just change their jobs and company, but there's something to be said about you being pigeonholed and only seen through one specific lens when you're around the same amount of people or the same people all the time, and you're in that environment, and there are just people who are not going to want to see you change. Like, I think that is something really interesting and difficult to accept, that people will prefer you to just stay where you are. Like, it's like, you outgrow your friends and all, and you can outgrow companies and coworkers and all that. And that can be really hard because some people stay the same. And if you're someone who has a growth mindset, you're never going to be staying the same. You're always going to be changing and challenging yourself. And I know I had some friends who really wanted to see me as, they were more like coworker friends. They really wanted to see me as just a worker bee graphic designer, just someone in the trenches, like not really a leader, just doing the thing. And I can be a great worker bee. I can be just part of a collective, and I just can, listen, working hard is not my issue. Cranking projects out, cranking the work out. And I'm not one of those people that always feels like I do need to be leading or in the spotlight. I kind of almost like I vacillate between I'm mainly an introvert, but I can also be an introverted extrovert and kind of push out a little bit, and then I can go back. Same thing for me when it comes to leadership. I can just kind of be a team player and just do my thing. And sometimes I can lead the team. Sometimes I'm happy doing both. Sometimes I want to just go between one of the two. Really depends at where I am in my life, what's going on in my life, so many other factors. And I've just kind of accepted that about myself. I don't feel this pressure to be a leader all the time or any of that stuff. But I remember I had this designer friend that I worked with, and I asked her to do a LinkedIn recommendation. So for those of you who don't know, when you're on LinkedIn and you have your profile, you can ask people you've worked with or friends or colleagues to write a recommendation. And just as a sidebar, they actually are helpful. What I've learned from recruiters is that they don't necessarily make or break your LinkedIn profile, but if you've got a pretty solid profile and you're being considered for a role, it can be like the cherry on top, a little bit of icing to help you push the needle in your favor. So my recommendation is at least once a year, get a new recommendation on LinkedIn. So that you kind of have at least one a year up to date to make your profile look current. But anyway, I asked a friend to do a recommendation, which you can do through the LinkedIn program or like the app. And so I was like, hey, I'm just going to call her Mary. Mary, can you send me a LinkedIn recommendation? I would love it. Like, we really went through the trenches together. We've known each other a few years. She's like, sure, no problem. Now, this was when I'd really started branching into coaching, doing a little bit more, I guess you could call it leadership work, whatever you want to. I don't even connect with the word leadership anymore. I've talked about this. I'm more into contribution is my favorite word now. And so she sends me a LinkedIn recommendation, which, by the way, just so you know how the logistics work, they send it to you and you can either approve it and then it will be published to your page. It doesn't go instantly and published to your page, or you can send it back to them and ask for a few tweaks, which I've given people recommendation. They've like, oh, can you call me a vocal coach a voice coach as opposed to a vocal coach? Like just small things like that. That happens. Anyway, she sends me her recommendation and I was like, yeah, I can't use this. This is like not good. I'm not putting this on my LinkedIn, and you can just ignore the recommendation when it comes in and just never publish it, because the recommendation was really going on about what a good, for lack of a better word, worker bee I am. It was like very dismissive of all the other work that I had done. And actually, I had done some coaching work with this person that I know was really helpful. And it was like just odd that I was like, she just wants to see me as a worker bee that like sweated it out in the trenches with her. And like, we really went through some hell together. I mean, nothing bonds two people like having to go through like work trauma, right? It was just, honestly, it made me look in the recommendation that I was just like this little scrappy little fighter, just trying to make it in the world and like doing my best. It did not. First of all, it wouldn't have done anything for my profile. It wasn't good. It just wasn't good. And I was like, wow, this person's really choosing to see me in a specific light. Like that's really what it was. They really decided to focus on certain things that were a part of more my past. I hadn't been working in that kind of capacity for years in that kind of role. And it was just interesting to me. I was like, yeah, that's an interesting light to see me through. It's an interesting lens. And we're always doing this. Like when I went through my coaching program, we talk a lot about this, and it is a simple analogy that we all hear, but it is so true. It's like we are going to see everything through the lens of our experience, and it's a different color for everybody, right? But what the frustrating part is that when things are shifting and changing and we're really choosing not to acknowledge the shifts. So I try and be that person that's like noticing like, wow, I can see that you're really working on this. You're approaching this so differently. Like, oh, for example, I have one friend who knows, and she had the habit of like always interrupting people. And she has very deliberately and consciously worked on this. Not saying that, she's not doing it still sometimes, but I have acknowledged it's like you really do interrupt less. Like, and I want to see you as that person that now interrupts less. Like, I want you to know that I'm seeing you as that person, that I'm seeing your progress, and it's the progress, not perfection. And I know that's really meaningful to her. So, part of this conversation today, or this like little chat that I'm having, well, basically with myself, is that we need to acknowledge people's progress. It's so crucial because I see the pain of progress not being acknowledged in people, friends, family, all that stuff. And especially in the corporate world, like I can't handle it. It's just so hard for me to see the pain of other people when they are not feeling that their progress and efforts are making an impact, or they're actually there. And it's not the obvious stuff. It's not the obvious like, oh, I've gotten better at making these reports. I'm better at Excel. I'm faster at Excel. I mean, yay, you. Okay, great. But it's the behaviors, it's the communication skills, it's the empathy, it's all of those things that are so key for any kind of experience with other people. And nothing brings out those experiences more than like corporate culture these days. Like it's so intense and so difficult. And I've never forgotten the pain that this coworker felt when she, on multiple occasions, was dismissed for her shifts and her changes. And I mean, it said a lot about this person that she was reporting to, this person in power. It was to her benefit not to acknowledge people's progress. And it wasn't just her, it was with other people as well. And I think that's what you have to really realize, especially in the corporate environment, is that it actually, and I'm going to use my friend's word, she uses this all the time, it behooves them to not acknowledge your progress. They want to keep you small in certain circumstances. And that's what's, one of the many toxic things. I was going to say few, but that's one of the many toxic things in corporate culture is, pushing people down, keeping them small. Hopefully you have room to grow, and hopefully there's room for expansion. And I talk about this in a few different keynotes I do, is that you want an expansive experience in corporate. That is like, if you're feeling like you can expand and grow, that is such a green flag. But when you're contractive and you're feeling tight and small, that is like a huge red flag. And so just how do you feel? And the really simple way to think about it is, do I feel heavy or light? So light is expansive, heavy is contractive. How are you feeling every single day when you show up for work? Well, I'm telling you that if someone is not acknowledging your progress and disregarding your efforts, even if you're not making progress, but they're disregarding your efforts, like true effort, that's going to feel real heavy. That is very contractive. And that's, definitely a red flag, an indication of a toxic job and potentially a toxic leader. So if you are making progress and taking strides, try and be surrounded with people that are acknowledging it. I think that's when we really flourish in personal relationships as well. Like, it's so great when someone we know or a close friend of ours is acknowledging the things we're doing and trying, even if we're like not doing so well at it. I think it's just a huge piece. There's such a weight and such a beauty to being witnessed. That word is really interesting. I want to do a little bit of a deeper dive into it, but it's when people witness our shifts and change and progress, it's like, like on Instagram, how people are going on and on about, I feel so seen. Every meme is, I feel so seen. That's the witnessing piece. That is like, there is something magical and powerful that happens when we're it's like an energetic validation or an energetic acknowledgement of what we've done and what we're trying to do. And then it's like proof that we're evolving. It's like we just need someone to be like, yeah, this is amazing. Like, you're moving forward, you're making progress. Yay, you. That's like sometimes all we need is a yay, you. And unfortunately, in corporate, you're not always going to get them. So just think about the heavy or light, the contractive, expansive, and are you feeling like you're acknowledged? Are you feeling like you're seen? Are you feeling like people are valuing the progress and changes that you're making? That's a huge piece of it as well. It's like, people go on and on about this. They will leave jobs because they don't feel valued despite what they're being paid, all of that stuff. Like, sometimes it doesn't matter. It's more like they want to know that their contributions are of value and they are valued as an employee or as a person on the team. It's so huge. And yet, some of us are so craving it and it's not there. And it really makes me sad. So I'm hoping that you're working with people that are seeing you, witnessing you, acknowledging you, and that you are the type of person, like, if you commit to growth and trying to get better at something, as opposed to someone who has like a fixed mindset and they're like, a fixed mindset is like, I've got it all figured out. I don't need to do anything. And like, I have run into people like that. I remember I was in a women's circle once where we were kind of like working on our stuff. And one woman, well, she did not come back, I'll tell you that. But she was like, yeah, I don't really have any issues. I think like, my life is fine. I mean, legit, that's what she said. And I was like, everyone's like, yeah, you really came to the wrong place because we're all hot messes and we're trying to figure stuff out. Like, we don't know what we're doing and we're freaking out a little bit. So that's why we're all here gathered. And she's like, yeah, I'm cool. So she didn't come back. Maybe she is all cool. I don't know. But I'm not too sure she had a growth mindset. And maybe she would be fine, actually, in these corporate environments where no one really cared if she was making progress or not, or she just kind of did her job and just got on with it. And there wasn't the feeling of needing to grow and expand. Maybe that is her. And it sounds a lot easier. That doesn't sound like my life at all. Like, not at all. But you know what? I think I'm good. I think I'm good where I am. I'm just going to keep growing and keep trying different things. And yeah, let me know if your workplace is heavy or light, and surround yourself with people who are seeing you and your progress. And I'm going to think that you will feel a lot happier and a lot more fulfilled if you can find that. Take care, guys. Thank you for joining me today on Ditch the Struggle. You showing up here means so much to me. To dig deeper into the topics discussed today and to learn about my work, visit alanarosa.com. And don't forget to download your free resources while you're there. And if this episode resonated with you, please share with others who also want to ditch the struggle. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, leave a rating and a review, and let me know what you'd like to see more of on this podcast. And before I go, I want to leave you with my 3 favorite ways to ditch the struggle. Be your own best advocate, take baby steps for the win, and forget about a linear career path. It's overrated and you are doing just fine. See you next time.